I am vetoing this resolution. I have the duty to veto it, and I'm very proud to veto it. Congress's vote to deny the crisis on the southern border is a vote against reality.
Your declaration of an emergency on the southern border was clearly authorized under the law.
The main terror suspect in New Zealand's deadliest attack appears in court. The gunman murdered 49 people.
Security from the police will continue at mosques.
I think it's a small group of people that have very, very serious problems.
The media going wild for Beto for president in 2020.
I have enjoyed white privilege. Absolutely. Undeniable.
Former presidential candidate Jeb Bush calls for a Republican to challenge President Trump.
Republicans ought to be given a choice.
The Democrats made a terrible decision when they announced that they had turned down Fox News' offer to host. You want to be in the big leagues, but you refuse to ever play an away game?
A 4-year-old boy is stealing hearts all across America with the national anthem.
For the Big East at Madison Square Garden tonight, 6:35 p.m. Eastern on the Fox broadcast channel. I said earlier FS1. FS1 is going to have all the highlights. You got to watch them throughout all of March Madness. But the big Fox broadcast tonight, 6:35 p.m. Eastern. By the way, Michigan is going to be playing Michigan State tonight. Minnesota against Michigan. So that's the
Wisconsin's
big fan where you're from.
Wisconsin.
Did I say? I'm sorry. Wisconsin versus Michigan State.
Yes.
Minnesota versus Michigan. Then the winners there will square off for the Big Ten championship.
Yep.
That's on CBS. All kinds of games. March Madness just beginning.
That's right.
March Madness. And those cheerleaders are so good and so beautiful and so athletic. I've decided I'm going to back Villanova.
We are going to have the Harlem Globetrotters. We're going to have a basketball court out there next weekend.
Next weekend?
Oh, we're kicking it off right.
Man, I'm excited already. I get a rematch.
I think we're going to. Yeah, I beat you last year with the three-pointers.
You did?
I've been practicing a little bit.
Have you?
Already, yeah.
I've been practicing on the Papa Shot in my basement. That's the only place I play anymore.
All right, and Rich was like, let's move on. She doesn't want to talk about basketball. But the president yesterday making some waves with his first ever veto. Remember what happened this week. 12 Republicans in the Senate defied him and tried to block this declaration of a national emergency. The president said, nah, I'm going to veto that and move forward. Now it heads to the courts.
And he did it in a dramatic way. He got out his pen, did it at the desk, had angel moms, sheriffs, law enforcement officers behind him, and he made this statement as he made a statement with his pen. Listen.
To defend the safety and security of all Americans, I will be signing and issuing a formal veto of this reckless resolution, and that's what it was. Congress's vote to deny the crisis on the southern border is a vote against reality. It's against reality. It is a tremendous national emergency. It is a tremendous crisis. Congress has the freedom to pass this resolution, and I have the duty to veto it.
That's right. The president saying it's his duty to protect the country, that this is an emergency, and a group of people surrounding him, law enforcement, sheriff, border patrol, those people agree with him, and they're so grateful to him for finally having someone in office who backs them up on this. Here's Sheriff Thomas Hodgson from Bristol County, Massachusetts.
I've been a sheriff for 21 years, and I've been dealing with Congress for 21 years on this issue of immigration. A lot of people have listened over 21 years, but Mr. President, you are the first person who's taken action. And you have given us back our footing in law enforcement, but you've also given the American people back what they deserve, which is to be protected.
Imagine that, a president of the United States listening to law enforcement, who might know a little bit more than the rest of us about what's really happening with the border crisis, number one. Number two, we got to be clear that there's still a healthy debate about whether the president has this legal authority. As I mentioned, it's going to be playing out in the courts. But remember, he had his attorney general, yes, nominated by this president, but someone seen as a relatively bipartisan figure in Attorney General Barr, who said yesterday clearly in the Oval Office, he has the legal authority to do this.
Yeah, and those sheriffs from Massachusetts, not a southern border state, these are sheriffs who deal with the ramifications of drugs and trafficking in their communities and realize you don't secure it until you address it. And the president pointing out kind of an America First angle. We declare all these emergencies about other countries, things going, why can't we declare one on our own border? He believes he has the legal authority. The wall will start to be built eventually, although, as you said, the showdown continues.
So while he was issuing that veto, you actually had critics in the mainstream media, some of them attacking the president. Maybe that's not surprising. They do it pretty often. But attacking him this time over something pretty vile, saying basically that his rhetoric, other actions are to blame for the horrific deaths that we saw in New Zealand, that just horrific murders. That, again, might not be a surprise because you got critics saying all these things. President pushed back on it in the Oval Office. What was surprising, Chelsea Clinton getting blamed as well. A left-wing activist going after her when Chelsea Clinton was here in New York at a vigil for the victims in New Zealand. And because Chelsea Clinton recently lashed out at Congresswoman Omar over anti-Semitic remarks, this activist claimed Chelsea Clinton helped cause all of this. Watch.
After all that you have done and all this homophobia that you have sowed.
I'm so sorry. Well, certainly it was never my intention. I do believe words matter. I believe we have to show
we do matter. And this right here is the result of a massacre stoked by people like you and the words that you have put out into the world. And I want you to know that, and I want you to feel that deep inside. 49 people died because of the rhetoric that you put out there.
What does I'm sorry you feel that way mean? What does that mean?
I'm so sorry. That's Chelsea Clinton, pregnant, by the way, being accosted by these social justice warriors and apologizing. Here's Dan Bongino, who was with us just a little earlier, talking about what he took away from that exchange.
This is outrageous. I mean, Chelsea Clinton is a check-the-box liberal in every single way. She's the problem. I thought the goal was to call out hate in all forms. I mean, the Democrats say that all the time. Even in their watered-down resolution against Ilhan Omar, which they took her name out of after anti-Semitic comments, what did they keep saying? We need to call out hate in all forms. Well, why not anti-Semitic hate? Why is that the only acceptable form of hate? The answer is it isn't to me or anyone else on the set, but why is it to the people who confronted Chelsea Clinton?
That confrontation is a stand-in for what's happening in the Democrat Party right now. You've got the young socialists going after the old guard. Nothing is good enough unless
even Chelsea Clinton is now considered old guard.
She's considered the old guard as she's at a vigil with them. Yeah. Nothing is good enough unless it's
a pregnant woman confronted by this activist. And by the way, this activist who had all this courage to go after Chelsea Clinton, once she got backlash from Democrats, Republicans, independents, a lot of Republicans out there saying, why are you attacking Chelsea Clinton? This courageous activist took her Twitter down, made it private so that she didn't have to take any abuse. And again, I don't think people should be attacking that activist, just to be clear, but you put yourself out there and want to go after Chelsea Clinton, a pregnant woman, come on.
She realized she was once off the campus and you know, the protection of the campus, and she had to deal with it, sort of the national criticism.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
she crumbled.
Good point. Well, another thing that caught our eye, you know Bill Maher. Listen, he's no friend of conservatives or Republicans or of the Fox News channel. He's a big liberal. But every once in a while, he says something that catches your eye and reveals a truth.
Trying to explain to his own folks.
To his own
Wake
folks.
up.
This is last night on Bill Maher's show, talking about Democrats not willing to come on Fox News. Watch.
You want to be in the big leagues, but you refuse to ever play an away game? You don't like the questions that Fox News might ask, so you're deciding to not take any questions at all? How very Trump of you. This is a fundamental problem with the Democratic Party. They look weak, running from a fight when they should be in there throwing punches. Republicans never shy away from coming on this show, and they come with a smile on their face, despite knowing that the only people in the crowd cheering them on are the 3 campaign aides they brought with them. Democrat and Republican said Fox News was their main source of campaign news. You have to get inside the bubble. You call yourself the resistance, then fight behind enemy lines. That's what a resistance does. That's the difference between blowing up a tank and tweeting about it. Get out of your echo chamber and infiltrate theirs.
How much truth he's speaking to his own party about the resistance move as being a bunch of wimps, not actually getting in and fighting it out on ideas, for example, just taking cheap shots. And secondly, I'll quickly say that when I'm stopped in airports by supporters of the president. And they want to say, and what is it you like about the president? More than anything, they say he fights. We didn't have, they say, a Republican nominee or a Republican president who fought for us, who got in there and pushed back. And again, you may like the president, you may dislike the president, you may think he goes too far on Twitter and elsewhere, but there are a lot of Republicans in this country who like that he stands up and fights. Bill Maher just pointed out he thinks a lot of his fellow Democrats are not standing up and fighting.
And Pete, you've been on that show before, and it's true. I mean, it's not just on that show that Republicans are willing to go on. Most of the media is very liberal, and conservative Republican members of Congress are very accustomed to going on to CNN and MSNBC and NBC and ABC and taking tough questions, and yet the Democrats are afraid to do that.
I don't understand it. I didn't even have 3 campaign aides with me.
Yeah, you're all alone.
Only me. But you know what?
So
I got
brave.
a chance to say my
So
piece.
brave, yeah.
Well, we invite liberals and Democrats on the show all the time. We hope you will come on. You know, we are who we are, and you are who you are.
Free Pete Hegseth.
It's called America.
Get him back on.
Free me? Thank you, Ed.
All right.
All right, well, we're going to turn to some headlines while Pete advocates for going back on Bill Maher's show.
So Ed's doing that.
The main terror suspect, by the way, we're going to get to some difficult news. In New Zealand, its deadliest attack appears in court. The self-proclaimed white supremacist allegedly gunned down 49 people at 2 mosques. In a hate-filled manifesto, the suspect vowed to kill Muslim invaders and to divide America. 39 victims remain hospitalized, 11 in critical condition. New Zealand's prime minister now vowing to change its gun laws by banning semi-automatic weapons. The mother of the little girl found dead inside a duffel bag will likely face charges. Police extraditing Tequesta Graham from Texas to California for detaining her at the border on a parole violation. Her boyfriend, a convicted child abuser, is charged in the murder. The body of 9-year-old Trinity Love Jones was found along a hiking trail near Los Angeles. How very sad. A slain mob boss shakes hands with his killer moments before being gunned down outside of his home. New York City police say the gunman spoke with Frankie Cali after crashing into his SUV. The Gambino crime family boss then turned his back as the suspect opened fire. Authorities are eyeing late Gambino boss John Gotti's brother, Gene, who's 6 months out of prison. Police say the murder was not sanctioned by the New York Mafia's 5 mafia families. And breakfast lovers, this is something that's been getting us talking about things on the couch here. Breakfast lovers won't be egg-static to hear this. Eggs are linked to higher cholesterol and risk of heart disease. People who eat 3 to 4 eggs per week increase their chances by 6%, according to a new Northwestern University study. Doctors say it's better to eat egg whites since the cholesterol is in the yolk, and I completely disagree with that study.
Look, I want to stay.
I love eggs.
I want to stay yolk.
Yeah.
I like eggs.
Don't listen to that study. I have like 3 to 4 eggs a day. I don't know what that says about my cholesterol or where it's going. I should probably
It says you're going to be scrambling to get to the doctor.
Oh, man.
That was
all
good.
morning long.
Don't listen. Eggs are the perfect food.
They're wonderful.
I like them too.
All right, President Trump issuing the first veto of his presidency, saying it is his duty to defend the safety of Americans. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn supports the president's national emergency. She joins us live. Coming up next.
Plus, look at this. The pint-sized patriot is getting a lot of attention for his version of the national anthem. We met him early this morning. He's getting the pipes ready, and he sings for us again. Coming up.
The safety and security of all Americans, I will be signing and issuing a formal veto of this reckless resolution, and that's what it was. Congress has the freedom to pass this resolution, and I have the duty to veto it.
President Trump issuing the first ever veto of his administration. You saw it there after the Senate voted to block his declaration of a national emergency at our southern border. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn opposed the Senate resolution, voted in favor of the president's declaration, and she's kind enough to join us on this weekend. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
Senator, I want to get right at it because I want to, be straight up about this. 12 of your Republican colleagues tried to defy the president on this, align themselves, you see them there, align themselves with Democrats who have been saying no, no, no to the president's agenda. And I find it an interesting stark contrast to what happened in the Oval Office. You have those Republicans and Democrats. And on the other side, you've got angel moms, you've got law enforcement officials and sheriffs saying, wait a second, we got a problem here.
Yes, and you notice they were from all across the country, and the reason for that is every state's a border state, every town's a border town until we secure the southern border. And the president is correct in taking the step to veto this resolution. You know, Ed, you know D.C., as do Rachel and Pete, my goodness. Congress gave this authority in 1976 through the Emergency Powers Act. They gave this to the president. He is exercising that. President Obama had 13 emergencies that he declared. One of them was over the swine flu.
Right, I get that. Pardon me one sec, Senator, but I want to press you on the point that when you mentioned Barack Obama, when he was president and you were back in the House, you and other Republicans were complaining all the time about him abusing his executive power. Why is it appropriate now for this president to use executive power?
You're right. There is, you want to recoup that power, because I'm one of those that has been pushing for Congress to recoup their Article 1 powers when it comes to appropriations and rulemaking, and review the REINS Act, push that, pass that, review executive powers, review the separation of powers, and bring all of these back in. I told the president the other day when I was at the White House, I said, look, you should support us reviewing all of this devolution of congressional power to the executive branch or the judicial branch. Let's call it the Drain the Swamp Act. I think that it would be a great way to force Congress to do its job.
Senator, real quick, I want to get to another important topic you were working on at the White House at a meeting this week, which was trade. Everyone wondering, will there be a summit with the Chinese president and President Trump? That may still be in the cards down the road. But there's another big trade deal that's sort of languishing in Congress. They haven't followed up on his agenda. Talk about that.
Yes, it's the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, USMCA. We should pass this. It's important for our auto workers, auto manufacturing. It is important for our agricultural interests. We need to get that passed and on the books. And then we need to drill down on China, hold them accountable for some of their misdeeds when it comes to technology transfer, intellectual property rights protections, and make certain that we get a deal with China.
Senator, joining us from the beautiful city of Nashville. You have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for coming in.
Will do.
All right. Meanwhile, California's governor defending his decision to end the death penalty out there out west.
My daughter says to me, you teach us not to kill. And yet here I am in a premeditated way, killing other people.
We can't do it.
On behalf of the state. I just can't do that.
Well, both sides of the debate. You hear the governor there, but a family affected by this decision is firing back. A 12-year-old girl's killer now saved. That little girl's father joins us live with his reaction. We get both sides of this next.
At the Joseph A. Bank Last Call Clear.
California Governor Gavin Newsom, while on The View, defending his decision to put a moratorium on the death penalty in California, saying he, quote, just can't kill people on behalf of the state. Take a look.
I don't do this lightly. I don't do it flippantly. I have deep respect and admiration for people who have a different point of view. But at the end of the day, when I'm sitting there talking to my kids, I have 4 young kids, and my daughter says to me, you teach us not to kill. And yet here I am in a premeditated way, killing other people.
We can't do it.
On behalf of the state. I just can't do that.
But what about the families of murder victims still waiting for justice to be served? 12-year-old Polly Klaas was murdered in 1993 in Petaluma, California, after being kidnapped at knife point during a slumber party. Her killer, Richard Allen Davis, has been sitting on death row since he was convicted in 1996.
Joining us now, Polly Klaas's father, Mark Klaas. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your daughter and what happened.
Well, Polly was a vibrant 12-year-old girl hosting a slumber party with 2 of her very good friends on the evening of October 1st, 1993, in the home that she shares with her mom in Petaluma, California. At about 10:30 in the evening, a knife-wielding bearded stranger entered the bedroom where the girls were playing and told them that he would slit their throats with the butcher knife that he was wielding in his right hand. He then proceeded to tie, bind, and gag Polly's girlfriends and steal her into the night, all under the ruse of only wanting to take money. We then spent the next 65 days looking for Polly, only to find that a recidivist violent offender, somebody who had been previously diagnosed as a sexually sadistic psychopath, had kidnapped, raped, murdered, and discarded Paulie's remains off the side of a freeway within about a 2-hour time frame.
Wow. Unthinkable.
A nightmare.
Mark, a nightmare indeed. He was convicted on death row. You heard what the governor, Gavin Newsom, said on The View. Here's a little bit more about what he said, his message, frankly, to families like you. Listen.
But what do you tell that the parent, though, that still disagrees? Says, I don't have closure.
What do you say to the one that says you have to eradicate evil?
I literally said there's nothing I can do to bring your child back. There's nothing I can say to change your point of view. The fact is, though, I'm entrusted to do something much broader than just address one individual case. I've got to address a system that is race-based system of tremendous injustice for black and brown people.
Mark, your reaction.
Well, listen, he has no deep respect for my point of view because he spent an hour prior to, in the meeting we had, an hour prior telling me how victims of crime need to have a place at the table in this discussion about the broader criminal justice issue. And then he turned to me and he said, well, you know what? I'm going to declare a moratorium on the death penalty. So he basically disregarded everything I stand for, everything I believe, out of hand, just like that. I believe that the meeting I had with him the day before he made that declaration was a complete and total setup so that he could look at reporters in the eyes and say, yes, I've listened to all points of view. I have no respect for this man. He superseded the law. He turned his back on the will of the people. And he, on a whim, declared a moratorium and showed mercy for the 737 individuals on death row who have never shown mercy in their lives.
You know, he said it was a race-based system or alluded to race. It doesn't matter what the race is of the killer of your daughter. Something that heinous, from your view, deserves justice. Do you have any recourse to this moratorium?
Well, I don't know that I have any recourse. I'm not a lawyer, and I could assure you there are some lawyers looking into this right now. But I think everybody should call the governor's office and express their point of view. I'd like to see some online petitions so that people will understand, or so that the governor will understand. 11 times since 1972, Californians have reaffirmed their support of the death penalty. Only 2 years ago, we turned down an anti-death penalty amendment, and we approved an initiative that would streamline the system so that we could start executing these guys once again.
You know, most people, thankfully, have not gone through what you've gone through and had to endure with the loss of your daughter. Tell us why this is so important to you. Why do you think that this kind of end to this murderer's life equals justice for you?
Listen, the state of California spent an enormous amount of money and offered some excellent lawyers, some excellent representation during the trial of Richard Allen Davis for the murder of my daughter. And in both instances, when they declared his guilt and when they made the sentence of death, a jury of his peers said he deserved the ultimate punishment for having committed that crime. Well, that's off the table right now. Something entirely different is going to happen. He's been shown mercy. He's going to be able to live out his life with the guaranteed health care that all death row inmates and practically nobody else in our society receive.
Mm-hmm. You're just looking for the justice you thought was coming. Mark Klaas, father of Paulie, God bless her. Thank you for your story and your time this morning.
Yeah. God bless you and your family. Thank you for sharing that.
More Fox and Friends on the other side.
Sworn in as the official mayor of a small town in Vermont.
Yes, Miss Maria Lincoln taking office after beating out 15 other pets for the privilege to serve a one-year term.
Oh, so she's running against other pets.
Yeah.
Lincoln taking an oath before stomping a footprint of approval. There is no human mayor, but the town manager putting on the election to encourage kids to get involved with local politics. Kids?
What state is Bernie Sanders from?
Kids, remember goats, kids.
What are we teaching kids? Oh, boy. Yeah, maybe Bernie could run for that. If he doesn't win for president, he could run for mayor of that town.
Great idea.
He'd probably win.
Another campaign you can
I'm hearing that the goat's honeymoon was in Russia.
Oh, really?
That's what they tell me.
It's a good move if you're in great shape.
I'm going to fact
It's a commie goat. All right. Well, turning now to your headlines. Look at this. An Australian senator, this is crazy footage, you got to see it, is egged by a teen protesting his controversial remarks on New Zealand mosque shootings. The Senator Fraser Anning drew international condemnation after blaming the terror attack that killed 49 worshippers on Muslim immigration. Anning had to be restrained after repeatedly hitting the boy in the face. Senator's supporters then tackled the teen until police arrived. He was released without charges.
That senator was boiling, man.
Kim Kardashian is paying the rent for a reformed criminal, but she needs your help finding him a home. Kardashian tweeting, quote, "If there are any landlords with a 2-bedroom in Nashville willing to give Mr. Charles a second chance." Matthew Charles says he's having a hard time finding a home because of his criminal past. He was one of the first inmates released under the sentencing reform law. Kardashian met with President Trump to discuss the reform law last year.
What a picture.
Yep. For some newlyweds, the honeymoon is ending before it even begins.
We're never gonna forget this honeymoon.
Well, couples are now taking uni-moons, post-wedding trips without their new spouse. That's according to the New York Times. While some split after their big day because of work, others did it because they just couldn't agree on where to go. One psychologist saying the rise of uni-moons may be due to a greater focus on individualism. I'd say so.
You've got some friends here watching the show off camera, and I said thumbs up. They were like thumbs down. No, bad idea.
Yeah, if you're taking a bro trip, like on your honeymoon, it's over.
It's a bad
sign.
We ought to get the congressman on tomorrow to talk about that. See what he thinks.
Rick, what do you
He likes honeymooning with me.
Is this a bad first sign if couples
I
are
think so.
splitting out the gate?
You might want to rethink that like about a day before you walk down the aisle. There, by the way, let's just there be a new study like 5 years from now. Go back and find those couples and see
Good
how
idea.
things are going. Maybe
I
it's
love
way
that.
better.
Great idea.
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it works. You're right.
Maybe it does. We'll see in 5 years. All right, guys, let's talk a little weather out there. There's a big story going on across parts of the northern plains, areas from Nebraska over towards Wisconsin, dealing with incredible flooding. Take a look at the maps, show you what's going on. We had all of that rain this week, a really incredible storm, one of the most powerful storms we've ever had, at least that we've measured across the central part of the country. It's gone. Behind it, just a little bit of showers across parts of the central Gulf and towards Florida. That's going to remain throughout the weekend, so keep your umbrellas handy. We are watching flooding, though. All these areas, because of that heavy rain and because of incredible amounts of snow that you saw this winter, all of that melting very quick and causing a lot of flooding emergencies there. It's primarily the Elkhorn, the Platte, and the Missouri River. Keep in mind, all that water has to eventually flow into the Mississippi. I think we could be talking about flooding for a long time this spring. The good news is no big precipitation anywhere in the country behind this system. And in fact, as we move through the next couple of days, things overall pretty much everywhere remaining pretty dry. All right, guys, back to you inside.
All right, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. All right, well, people across the country are taking the polar plunge to raise money for charity in the cold winter
Well,
months.
TV's Todd Pyro is about to take the plunge, literally. Last year, it looked like he got a case of cold feet, you might say. He didn't quite go all the way in. Will it go better this time around? Come on, Rachel,
You're so
stick with
mean.
us.
I'm with you, Todd. You did take the polar plunge. He joins us now in the town of Oyster Bay, New York, and he's going to do it now.
In the pantheon of unjustified conspiracy theories, Pete Hegseth's vile and baseless accusation that I did not get my hair wet is right up there with the accusation that the moon landing was fake. That said, we are going to right what Pete Hegseth views as a wrong right now. Are we ready? On my count, 3, 2, 1.
Now we have
He waited.
All right. As you see, I am fully wet from my toes to my head, Hegseth. You know, every time you get to do something where you get wet on the show, it's in a dunk tank in July. Why don't you get your Minnesota you-know-what out here and show
it's a challenge.
Show the nation how it's done.
Sounds like a challenge.
I
Wait,
can't
hold on.
hear you, so I have no idea how bad you're ripping me right
All
now.
for a good
But
cause.
we had
What
a
do you
lot of
think?
fun.
Should Pete go out?
was good.
He can't hear us because he can't have an earpiece. He goes underwater.
Friends at FoxNews.com. Should Pete take the next plunge?
I just want to say, for those of you who couldn't see off camera, I have never, ever, in all my time hosting this show, ever seen both of these guys walk over to look at us. They were right
Did he get in or not? We went down there.
Check. So, you know.
I won't judge this time he got in. I am with Pete about last year.
Yeah, but it was quick. Remember, I said 2 seconds. He was under for maybe a half second, but it was full.
The pressure from Pete. I think the pressure from Pete pushed him in the water deeper this year. That's what we could say.
Todd, you did it. That was a plunge.
Good job.
It was a mini plunge.
All for a good cause.
But it was a plunge for a good cause. You're right.
Check out his Twitter account. They've got the link there, I'm sure. Donate. Wonderful cause. Special link.
It is a good cause.
All right. Moving on to another great story. This pint-sized patriot getting a lot of attention for his version of the national anthem.
I saw him in the green room. He's getting excited. He's a great kid. Plus.
He looks tired.
There he is. Wait a minute. Plus, talk about someone with some potential. Beto O'Rourke compares fighting climate change to storming the beaches in Normandy? Really?
Those who were on the beaches in Normandy, they showed us the way. We can convene the countries of the world around otherwise unsolvable problems.
Oh, unsolvable. He's just one of the 2020 presidential hopefuls, bringing their message straight to the people. But what do actual voters think? Not what the mainstream media is telling you. The brand new Dials. Next. He's in.
He's in.
All right. As you see.
2020 presidential hopefuls out in full swing, bringing their message straight to the people. So what do the voters think?
Here with the Dials, our friend, partner at Miss Lansky and Partners, Lee Carter. Good morning again.
Great to be here again.
Bernie Sanders seemed to be thrilling the left when we talked to you last time. Let's take a look at this bite where he beats up on the president a little bit.
This campaign is not only going to defeat Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in our lifetimes. This campaign and the government we are going to create is going to transform our country and create an economy and a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%.
So you can see there, Bernie is capturing the hearts of Democrats. They gave him an A. Not so much with the Republicans and Independents who gave him an F. Not so surprising that we're really divided between Republicans and Democrats. What is surprising to me is how turned off the Independents were by his message. They really don't like it when they go anti-Trump, but they really just are not inspired by Bernie. But let's not forget, and we talked about this earlier, that the game is really about winning Democrats because so many of the primaries are closed.
You have to run in the election that the first one, the primary.
That's
you have
right.
to win that, and then you can move on. Let's look at Beto O'Rourke. He's getting a lot of buzz this week. Here's a clip from him.
Those who faced an existential threat to Western democracy and our way of life, they showed us the way. We can all come together, we can unite, we can marshal the resources, and we can convene the countries of the world around otherwise unsolvable problems. That moment is now for us on this issue. So if there's a time to reassert global leadership and make friends instead of enemies, it's today because the challenges are too great.
So what does this tell you about Robert Francis?
What this tells me is that he does inspire folks. You can see that the Democrats there gave him an A, Independents and Republicans gave him a C-, not so bad. What you can say there is people were inspired by his message of coming together, but when he tried to compare this, he made a leap here to climate change, like this is the beaches of Normandy. That's when everybody said, wait a minute, a step too far. But you know what? The thing that's so interesting is that there's something appealing about him.
People like the hand motions? I mean, Trump.
Can you tell our body language?
We can do that. We can do that separately. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I couldn't tell if he was conducting an orchestra or not. One of the other candidates, Kamala Harris. Here she is talking about tax cuts.
I am proposing what has been described as one of the most significant, one of the greatest tax cuts for middle-class families in generations. If you are a family that is making less than $100,000 a year, you will receive a tax credit that you can receive at up to $500 a month. Well, let me tell you how we're going to pay for it. We're going to repeal that corporate tax cut.
So you can see there, she's got quite an appeal there. Democrats gave her an A-, and Republicans and Independents gave her a C-. Tax cuts sound good, but what you can see happen with Republicans and Independents, as soon as she said repeal that corporate tax, not so much on board. But she has a different idea. She's out there talking it. Everybody else is talking about health care. She's talking about something a little bit different.
Healthcare as well for Cory Booker. Let's quickly get to that.
In the United States of America, healthcare is a right. It's got to be. You cannot have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness if you don't have health care. Liberty is not being shackled to fear because you can't afford to get sick. And so my passion and my work is to make sure that every single American has a right to high-quality health care.
Look, Cory Booker has quite an appeal there, too. You can see Democrats gave him an A, Independents and Republicans gave him an F. So not quite as good as some of the others on the independent side, but he's a contender for sure. So somebody to watch out for. But I still think right now Bernie's in the #1 spot with the Democrats.
I agree with you. I do.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more to say about that. We'll save it for later. Thank you very much, Lee.
Great to be here,
Lee. All right, well, a cool story coming up. A pint-sized patriot getting a lot of attention for his show-stopping national anthem.
That our flag was still there.
He's getting ready to sing it right here on Fox and Friends. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah.
Spangled Banner, yes, for the land and of the free and the home of the brave. People were pounding on the window.
He said they were pounded on the windows.
A 4-year-old, you just heard him, a singer belting out the anthem out at a Hershey Bears hockey game this week.
And this morning, Landon Mack, his mom Kim, and dad Rich join us live. They are super pumped. Welcome to Fox and Friends.
I have to say, Landon, I've never had a guest on Fox and Friends that I wanted to actually eat up. You are the cutest thing I've ever seen. Who's your favorite team?
Hershey Bears. Anyway.
Hershey Bears?
You can tell me anything I want.
Great. You'll answer anything you want.
Tell us about your shoes. You're excited about your shoes. They light up?
They're lit up. You're a patriotic guy.
Now, you learned to sing this song from YouTube videos, right? You watched people sing it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Look at him.
How did you? No, it's all right. I got a 4-year-old. I know how it is. What?
Does he sing this?
He can't sing like you.
No.
Maybe I'll teach him. That's
How
why you're
proud
on.
are you, Mom and Dad?
What's that?
How proud are you?
Oh, so proud. I mean,
Extremely.
our hearts just pound, especially that night. We were so nervous, but so proud of him.
Did you think it would go viral the way it did?
No.
Absolutely not.
No, it blew up.
fun.
Yeah, you probably thought it's adorable. You're the parent,
Exactly.
but you didn't realize that all of us think it's so adorable.
How many times has he done it? Was that the first time or?
That was the first time at the Hershey Bears game, but he's done it at small venues.
Huh?
Yeah, just for kicks. And this happened.
Landon, why do you like to sing so much?
Uh-uh.
I'm good at it. Drop the mic.
Well, listen, why don't we just should we get him to, let's just have you do it. He looks like he's been waiting around. He's a little restless, so.
Hey, Landon, would you sing the national anthem for us, buddy?
Yeah.
Would you?
You'll do it?
Okay.
All right, let's go. We're gonna hear you.
Go ahead.
It's all on you.
Look right at the
Go for it.
camera.
Right in the camera and use that microphone, buddy.
Are you ready?
We're ready.
We're ready. Let's go.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose best stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land and of the free and the home of the
More than half of our community.
Come on, this guy's a showman.
I know. He went from
Landon-
being a playful 4-year-old to a real performer like that.
Landon Mack, what do you want to be when you grow up?
You know?
Science astronaut.
Science astronaut.
Ooh, science astronaut.
A singer?
And a singer. We need a few. You stole the show, buddy. You stole.
We're going to have you back. The Mack family, congratulations.
Thank
Very
you
proud.
so much. Great job.
By the way, St. Patrick's Day show tomorrow. We're going to find out if he can do the show drunk. So come back to
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
After the attack in New Zealand, debating how the attacker managed to live stream it to the world. Today, social media companies under fire for showing the fire, because even after shutting it down, that video is still out there, and thousands have it, and now Washington's had it. Then the backstory on that President Trump veto announcement at the White House. There's a reason why he played it up big. He had a big cast of supporting characters to drive home his decision. Not sheriffs policing the border, angel moms whose kids were killed by those who got through that border. The president vowed his veto was for them.
When we first met on the
4 years
campaign,
ago.
when they said, oh, Trump's not going to win, you said Trump was going to win, and I said, and they will not have died in vain, right? And that's true. I say it today with even more meaning.